cross-examination. The moment of the shooting again. Okay, so we've got one chance here. Welcome back, by the way. We've got one chance to present some evidence that's clearly going to be the Cat-Flapomat. Is that what it was called? What's it called? Yeah, the Cat-Flapomat. Compact machine with a rapid creation of small flaps in large doors to allow cats to come and go freely. Let's examine it while we're here. So what we got? Anything? Can't find anything. Yeah, that's the wrong bit, obviously. Ew, those vicious teeth look like they could rip through almost anything. They're good, aren't they? They're made of a special alloy I developed just for this job. And the cutter rotates 10 times per second, so it can get through any kind of door in no time at all. And what are the two parts at the top there? Ah, those are attaching hinges to the section of the door that gets cut out. Right, of course. Nothing can match this machine for power. It can make mincemeat of even the toughest of doors. It sounds so charming and friendly when you say what it's for, but just like the reality of the Cat-Flapomat, there's a grim weapon of a door destruction. Wagga eyes, so adorable. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him, even developing a deadly weapon. So I'm assuming that's going to be the only thing then, because there doesn't seem to be anything else it's pointing out. Alright, very well. So which bit do we want to do this on? It's got to be something with the peephole, but what was I suspicious of originally? Because I feel it's that one. So I'll put a spatter over the wretched girl. And she tossed the gun out of the peephole. Because it's this. I feel like it's this I have to present it on. We can't pursue him. We can only present, so... Objection! What on earth is that eccentric contraption, Counsel? Oh, it's my Cat-Flapomat, my lord. Makes a way for cats to get in and out of a room. It can cut through any door you can think of and make a new little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please, without their owners having to open the... I'm sure we can all work that out for ourselves. But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it doesn't. To start with, there was no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function another way then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon? A peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Mr. Windybank had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at the yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Shlomes. Yes, the 3 of us were together. It's recently come to my attention. My assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in the storeroom door, I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself in order to see inside the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in the door. I said as much in my testimony. How else could I have witnessed the crime, for pity's sake? Yes. How could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean is this, my lord. My assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, until such time as she did. The door had no hole in it to look through. So yeah, so what's the timings on those things? It's like, that's the thing, it's like if she made it in the door, like, because it's clearly not there, and then we arrived around that time, didn't we? So she made it in the door after the fact. So how did he know about it at all? What? No!
Objection!
This is a farce. Are you really suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place, by my judicial assistant using this device. Her assistant tampered with the crime scene whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions? It's the most serious act of vandalism. Which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in the few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the skulking brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in the light of this new information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Riddled with... Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Graydon's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, for the time of the incident, that peephole did not yet exist in the door. There's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Oh, my, it would be us, yes. Is there any credence to this revelation?
Objection!
None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly. This is just some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is. Do you seriously expect people to believe that plaything can cut through a solid wooden door? Oh yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It can cut through even the toughest of doors. That's absurd. I don't believe it for a second. I had a feeling you'd say that. What? Waggy? Kiwi? Time for dinner. When did you find time to do that? Hello. Well? Young lady, this is the Old Bailey. One does not make cat flaps in the oak panelling at the Old Bailey. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door at Windybanks was made by your machine. There's no way you can prove that it was. I mean, we can prove it wasn't there beforehand, so... No, but it's easy. What? The cat flaps my Cat-Flapomat creates are all of a fixed size. And the dimension of the peephole at Windybanks are an exact match. Oh! Old Silky's lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it's my learned student friend's turn to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home? Well, yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all of the facts. Got a picture, mate. For the sake of argument, let us assume the peephole has dimensions that are a perfect fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. The picture, mate. What's the purpose of your line of inquiry, Lord Van Zykes? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using this device. But now that the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact. There is no proof. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. What? Indeed, that is so, Lord Van Zykes. Well, counsel? Don't give up now, Runo. This is the time to create your own opening and force your way through. I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Sister San is the greatest judicial assistant in the world. Very well. Counsel for the defense will present evidence to support the claim made. Proof that the peephole in the door of Windybank's storeroom was created after the event and not before. Alright. So which one do we want? Because that will show it not being there, so that's probably more evident than the... Because then that shows it is there, so it doesn't really show us that it wasn't there. So it's like, it's got to be this one, it's got to be this one, it's got to be this one.
Take that!
What are you, a print from that detective's infernal cameras again? My judicial assistant, Miss Suzuto Mikataba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had the necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print, Counsel. This print shows a scene in the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agree. It also shows the accused mercilessly wielding a gun in the direction of the defenseless broker. But more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I don't believe it. This is really quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is completely devoid of a peephole of any description. Mr. Graydon, you couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in that door. In other words, your testimony is a catalogue of lies. Oh my. He just died. Is he dead? Is he alright? He's standing again. I am satisfied that the defense has substantiated its claim beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness's testimony was entirely fallacious. That's not the only thing we now know beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with a crime scene. But more importantly... Good lord, there's more, Lord Van Sykes? The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury. But that is no proof that this man is the victim's killer. True. Yes, that's right. What? He was there at the scene. It's true. And I was shot in the arm. It's true. That's all. Yes, in fact, if we look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. No, please. No. Don't believe this. But they're right. As it stands now, I don't have any definitive proof that he is the culprit. Still, he can't worm his way out of it now. Iris, you know what they say. There's no point in locking the cat's door after the cat has bolted. Did they say that at this time? Isn't that right, Runo? As Hurley always says. One lie begets another. No, wait. That might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Oh, no matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there's a fundamental inconsistency in your statements. What?
Objection!
This is provocative talk, Counsel. To enlighten the court, explain this alleged inconsistency. Iris was right. One lie begets another. Inconsistency is revealed by the lies in the witnesses' statements. They showed that Mr. Gregson had knowledge of something he shouldn't have known anything about. Namely... Well, I mean, yeah, we know the peephole, but we've just been through that, haven't we, so... Just trying to... Just going through the logic in my head here, it's like... I think it's either of those two. But the peephole was made after the crime. So how could he have known about it? The fact he knew about it means there's more going on here. But the bloodstains as well, it means there's more going on here. But that one's more connected to this case, so I'm gonna go with this. If it's wrong, we'll just come back around and go bloodstains. We'll see. The point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Gregson. It's the nature of the lie you concocted that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me ask you a simple question. How is it, Mr. Gregson, that you knew of the existence of the peephole in the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously, Has the cat got your tongue, witness? The peephole in the door was made after the incident occurred. And once I returned to the shop, having failed to catch the two burglars, Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windybanks constantly, carrying out their investigation. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson?
Yes, of course.
The place is chock full of pawned articles, and my lads have to thoroughly examine them all. So I gave the order to have officers working around the clock in shifts so we get through it all. And consequently, there's no way that you, Mr. Gregson, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the peephole in the storeroom door. So the fact that its existence forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable.
Objection!
And yet, the fact remains that Mr. Gregson did maintain that he witnessed the crime take place through the peephole in the door. I don't know if is that possible. Could I have a word, please, Lord Van Zyx? Speak, Inspector. It's just that I really ought to be getting back to the station now to put in my report. There's really nothing more I can add to this testimony, so if it's all the same to you, permission denied. You told him, didn't you? Oh. It's not all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until this trial concludes. Oh, of course, sir. Mr. Gregson. You shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean you must have been informed about it by somebody else when they were whispering.
Objection!
Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extremely serious implications? Yes. But the defense believes that the details about the case that Mr. Gregson claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. And in fact, considering a particular clue we have, there's really only one person that could be. Gregson. Who's the person in question, counsel? Who gave this witness details of the crime scene to facilitate his false testimony? You.
Take that!
The truth is, it can only have been you, Inspector Gregson. Eh? Me?
Objection!
You had better have some proof to substantiate such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we've only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of it during the course of the trial today. Indeed, preparations for his testimony were made with great urgency during our hour-long recess. while the police executed the subpoena and brought the man here for the communications station. And until that time, Mr. Gregson would have no idea. No inkling that he would suddenly be required to appear in court. Are you suggesting that until such time as he was summoned? Yes, my lord. Till then, it's reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the Peephole. Since when he was brought here, I had suspicions of how much does he know, if you remember. It's yeah, he wouldn't know about the Peephole. It was only once Mr. Gregson was in the stand that he realized his position. That he would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was the third intruder. Suggesting to the court that it was while this trial was in progress that he received the information, so that he could commit perjury in order to save his skin. Exactly. And the only person with knowledge of this investigation that he had any contact with is you, Inspector Gregson. This is blooming outrage. Why would I be giving away details of our investigation to this fellow, eh? I was summoned to his lordship's chambers during the recess in any case. Had you forgotten that? Quite true, I had a number of questions regarding the events that transpired at the pawnbrokery. Which means, first time these two laid eyes on one another was after proceedings resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view in the stand, where such illicit discussions couldn't possibly have occurred. Oh, I've just remembered something, Bruno. What is it, Iris? There was one time before, wasn't there? I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Oh yes, now you mention it. And the bailiff was dispatched to retrieve McGilda's music box from the scene of the crime. That's it. It was during that testimony. I remember finding it strange at the time. Yes. Mr. Gregson and the inspector seemed to be having some kind of secret discussion. It would have been possible for you to give Mr. Gregson the information he needed then. You little toe rag. You're making all this up. I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Why would I be giving away confidential details to the likes of this bloke? Admittedly, you wouldn't have any reason to do something like that for no gain. But perhaps it's part of a deal of some kind. And it starts to make more sense. What deal, Counsel? I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the peephole at the crime scene, Mr. Gregson agreed to give a certain something to the inspector. I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that, if found to be true, striking a deal of any kind with a witness be considered a gross case of malfeasance.
Objection!
It's becoming clear that jumping in with accusations is the Nipponese student's speciality. I don't do that. But with the stakes so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent of the defense now to present evidence in support of this diabolical claim. Evidence? Just what are you proposing the inspector demanded of the witness in return? The court must see proof of this alleged deal. It's gotta be the discs, isn't it? Inspector Gregson really did strike a deal with Mr. Gregson. And logically, there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. Bruno, think it could be? Yes. It's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. I must press you for an answer now, Counsel. What evidence explains the nature of the alleged deal that Inspector Gregson made with the witness?
Take that!
Inspector Gregson. Beside the murder, is it not true that you've been working on another very important case? Are you getting that now, Sunshine? Is it possible that this other top-secret case is what's alluded to in this newspaper article here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice? How the bleeding Nora could you? We discovered during the course of this trial the music box deposited at Windybanks by Magnus McGilded. A special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair of discs that were in McGilded's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing those secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the discs for details of the case. You little... Ah! Oh my. Oda. On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windybanks, you said this. I'll be taking that worried of McGilded's down to the yard. Thank you very much. Send it over. No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is, mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Scotland Yard already knew at the time. Isn't that right? That Magnus McGilded was involved in the stealing of government secrets. Cover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. And that explains why, when I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume? Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information. Blimey, not likely. I mean, I wasn't that sure of it myself. Realized there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector, surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness? To aid and abet this man in giving false testimony? There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known of this existence of the Peephole. It's the only explanation a deal was struck between these two men. Oh my, guilty.
Objection!
If, and I stress, if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc is, as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What? What's that supposed to mean, eh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly he would not have accepted gentleman's agreement in this matter. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Gracious. Then, you mean to say, Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession? He has the second disc actually on his person?
Yes!
Oh. The defense demands the inspector is searched at once. Definitely. They could only have struck a deal with each other when Ginny was testifying before. And Gregson hasn't moved from the witness's stand since. My lord, please, order an examination of his personal effects immediately. Well, Inspector. Save us the bother, mate. This young lad wants to tone down his imagination. He insulted me in my profession quite enough. However, if it'll put this matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search. What? You agree to it? Presume you're aware of the precipice on which you now teeter, my learned student friend. You made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If, following the search of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, you will be deemed unfit for court service. This trial will end. And my country's government will formally demand of yours that you are severely reprimanded. Sounds serious. Quite. Indeed, have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force is not something Her Majesty's government would be able to overlook. You're just threatening Runa because you're scared. The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences. It's true. Can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. This must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. No. But somehow, something doesn't feel quite right here. It's like, clearly he doesn't have it, so my mind's like, when could he have gotten rid of it? Why, when he was so out of character, when he grabbed the pear Skulkin. Very well, Counsel. You know the implications, so let me ask you one final time. Yes, my lord. Do you still persist in formally requesting a search of the inspector's personal effects? Search someone else. Yes, the defense formally demands the search be conducted. Well, don't say you weren't warned, but your typical Nipponese stubbornness may well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good. Fair enough. I've got nothing to hide. Very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search of the inspector's personal effects. The defense demands a search, not of Inspector Gregson. What? Now what's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? I thought you wanted to search me. No, Inspector. Not you. Somebody else. What's the meaning of all this, eh? Lost it at last, have you, sunshine? The court shouldn't have to put up with this nonsense. Being completely irrational. Be quiet, all of you. Bruno's doing what you all told him to do, and having the courage of his convictions. So you should respect that, and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way. Oh, by Jove. Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction, and eagerly awaits his next words. What? Now don't be hasty, my lord. If I'm not mistaken about the things I've seen in court today, I'm fairly sure that I know who has that disc at the moment. If there's only one person, it can be. Counsel, of whom do you request the search now? And we're obviously going to, in the next part, present to the court Nash Skulkin. Because he did get into a little scuffle. It's very out of the blue, very strange, very suspicious. That's when he planted it on him. He doesn't even know he has it, does he? He doesn't know. So we'll find out in the next part. Ta-da for now.